And we're singing. We're singing.
Dun, 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 dun.
Time to talk.
Vampire.
Beauty and the Bitch.
Yeah. Morgie.
Yes.
Did you buy the bunting?
Yes.
Did you buy the party hats?
Yes.
Did you get the Brazilian wax?
Oh, yes.
Then we're ready for National Podcasting Day!
Dun, 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 dun.
I want a seat in the front row. I don't want to miss anything.
Well, it is a podcast, so just like turn up the volume and just be fucking happy.
That's even better. You know what? Podcasting Day is a day for the people.
Word.
Yeah.
And you know what's great about podcasts is that for the most part, they're free. There are like a couple of subscription things that you can do where you can pay money to hear podcasts. And I'm like, but why? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, completely. Yeah. Well, by the way, I'm Mick.
Oh, I'm Morgan.
And this is a very special bonus episode of Beauty and the Bitch.
Yes, we are here celebrating International Podcasting Day on September the 30th with all these other beautiful podcast people around the world.
They're all in the room with us. Whoa,
Yay! And other racist things we could say.
What? How is that racist?
Oh, okay. I don't know.
What?
Maybe it's not. I don't know. British people is like weird. I'm not real sure what
Look,
the line
I'm doing the
is.
best I can, okay? I'm not very good at accents.
Oh,
Why are you
you're
busting me
not.
out like
I'm
this?
so sorry.
But continuing what you were saying, though, Morgan, that is something that I love about podcasting, is that it really is what radio has evolved into in a very real way. And it is free, you know? As long as you have the tech, I guess.
Yeah, free-ish to produce. I mean, depending on how intense you go with it, but very free to listen to as long as you have like an iPhone or like iTunes or whatever. So that's great.
An Android, even.
I guess.
I have an Android, but I fold them up and put them under my bed.
Indeed. So we thought we would hit you guys with a little bit of history about podcasts because we found ourselves asking kind of where did podcasts come from and how did they get to where they are today, right?
Well, Stonehenge was the first podcast.
Yeah, it's a very little known fact. But you can still listen to the Stonehenge podcast on a Mac circa 1980, the ones that take up the whole fucking room.
What?
Yeah, and that's exactly what it sounds like. So get your copy today. But where podcasts actually originate from, Mickey, you might be interested to know, they kind of began around the 1980s and they were originally called audio blogging. And so it's come a long way since then. And around 2004 is when this new version of podcasting kind of took solid hold and has become what we know today, right?
Interesting. So, I'm sorry, when it was audio blogging, was it based in Africa, the cradle of civilization? Okay, I was going to say, because otherwise everything I know is wrong.
It's all shit.
Okay.
And so today there are over 115,000 English language podcasts that you can listen to for free. Wow. And there is something for everybody, right? There's a podcast for every fucking thing in your life, truly.
Podcasts kind of remind me of Reddit. And I think I've said this on episode before, but it's like, for any weird fetish, perhaps, but also interest that you have, there is a subreddit for you.
Oh,
and
for sure.
The same goes for podcasts. You can find something for any stupid little thing you love.
Absolutely. Like if you love bitching about pop culture and throwing shade, you guys might like our podcast.
Is that what we're doing here?
I don't even know anymore, honestly.
I mean, I've been chained to this wall for so long, I'm not even certain what reality is.
Same. So there's a lot of people that are
podcasting. I just want everyone to know this is a cry for help. We're podcasting from a dungeon.
Anyway, he's so funny. I just don't understand.
Myself.
If you keep talking, you won't get dinner tonight. I'm fucking serious. Actually, my husband's in there making us dinner. He's so sweet.
Nice lukewarm gruel.
We're having Indian curry. It's basically the same thing.
I'm sorry, Morgan. Okay, seriously.
Okay.
Please tell me more about
So
podcasts.
there's a bunch of different people that you can find on the internet attributed to being quote unquote podfathers, the creators of podcasts. And one of them is Adam Curry. He played a really big role in podcasts coming to iTunes and like the popularization of podcasts. And he lives right here in the heart of Austin, Texas.
Oh, shit.
And I actually met him like a month and a half ago.
Did he like you?
He did.
I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked.
So I went to one of those podcast meetups that I go to, which I recommend to anyone who's getting into podcasts. Find podcast meetups, learn with your people who are trying to do the same thing you're doing, and share ideas. That's kind of what's helping us in a lot of ways. And I was the only girl at the podcast meetup.
Oh, no.
Of about 15 dudes. And I feel like he liked me a little bit more because of that. And also because of my inquisitive nature and my gleaning personality.
Oh, okay.
But he was very kind. And he gave me his email at the end and said, if you have any questions. And for some reason, he mentioned that he liked blowjobs. I don't know.
That's a weird non sequitur.
Right?
I understand that. Yeah.
Okay, no. The false facts. What's it called? True facts?
False news. Fake news. Yeah.
All that. So that's fake news. He never said shit about blowjobs, and he was a very nice man.
Yeah, you're definitely besmirching the father of podcasting right now.
The podfather.
Yeah, probably our mics are going to explode.
Yeah, he's actually listening, to all podcasts simultaneously.
Omniscient podfather?
Oh, no. Maybe he should start a new podcast called Omniscient Podfather.
He should.
That's actually a baller as fuck name.
Okay. Copyright. Nick and Morgan.
And we're lawyers, so we understand that is efficient ways to copyright things.
We're also both rabbis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shalom.
Aw, multiculturalism.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's just the little booty boos I have about podcasts. But the true overwhelmingness of podcasts is what I find people suffer with, right? There's so many. So where do you start, Mickey?
Mm-hmm. It's a problem. I would say start at the beginning and go forward from there.
Yeah,
that's
so start at Stonehenge.
Isn't it? Yeah, the first podcast.
It's really silent and it's more of an art piece.
Can I just point out, so the Podfather, his last name is Curry, and we're eating veggie curry for dinner.
We're honoring the Podfather.
You're a witch. I'm on to you.
I am a witch. Well, I am a witch, but that really was a non sequitur.
Yeah,
also true.
I was just pointing out that our life is a miracle.
Yeah. Do you believe in magic?
You know I believe in magic.
In a young girl's heart?
Oh no, not there.
Oh, okay.
No, okay, so no, seriously, you're overwhelmed by podcasts. Where do you start? Well, you might start with the 5 domestically most popular podcasts in August of 2017.
Girl,
so
that's a great place to start.
These are the 5 podcasts that were the most downloaded last month. Now, Morgie, I wondered if you would like to take 3 guesses. What podcasts do you think are going to show up here? Think broad, girl, because you know a lot of them.
Okay, is This American Life on that list?
That's number 1.
Oh,
nice. The most popular podcast
People
last
love
month,
it.
but also generally. Yeah.
What about What the Fuck with Mark Maron?
Good guess. It was in the top 15.
Okay.
But no.
The Nerdist with Chris Hardwick?
That is a horrible guess.
Oh
actually,
my God!
You would think that would be on, actually, but no, that one's not up there either. Think,
what about S-Town?
That was number 6.
Okay.
You're so close. Think about one that you recommend a lot and listen to a lot.
Anna Faris is Unqualified?
Radiolab.
Oh, Radiolab's on there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
it's number 2.
Okay.
It's number 2. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, so you listed a bunch of other good ones. Number 3 is one you've actually told me about, but I don't know if you listened to it. Stuff You Should Know.
Oh, I do. So I just recently got back from Atlanta where I was stranded, thanks Hurricane Irma and Obama. But while we were there, there's this really cute area called the Ponce Market District. Some fucking bullshit.
Sounds queer. I'm down.
Oh, actually, did you know Atlanta's one of the top queer cities in the world? All their crosswalks are rainbows.
Oh, look at them.
There are so many fabulous gay people making life look great.
Oh, hell yeah.
But in this Ponce Market, there's markets and foods and like shops and stuff you can do downstairs in this really old industrial building that's been like revamped, so beautiful. And then on the 2nd and 3rd floor is businesses, and the headquarters for Stuff You Should Know is there.
Oh shit.
And so is one of the headquarters for Pinterest. And I was like, is this building the best place in the world?
I hope they have a full building Christmas party. I bet that's an amazing space.
My God.
Well, actually, speaking of that, I just realized. So, number 1, This American Life is essentially a series of short stories about people living in and around America. It sounds very basic, but it's the production quality And the kind of stories they pick.
Hosted by our boy Ira Glass.
Yes, who has one of the sexiest voices on earth.
Featuring David Sedaris frequently.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Yeah, really good. So that is number one, top quality, number one for a reason. Number two, Radiolab. Morgie, would you give like a 10-second descriptor?
Radiolab is everything you didn't know that you needed to know about either really big ideas and also really, really small things that impact so many different things. And the quality of that, I think, is like the testament of like what a good quality podcasts are. Like, they're fantastic together. They have great guests. Their sound quality is amazing. Their transitions, their opening, everything about them is
super polished. Yeah. Okay, so I haven't listened to that, but it's more Morgan's favorite podcast. You definitely might check that. Stuff You Should Know. Morgan's just talking about based in Atlanta. That one tells you, it's kind of similar, right?
Basically, it's a part of a bigger network.
Is it the Panoply Network?
No, I think the network is called something like Stuff You Should Know, and then they have a bunch of like blank you should know, this you should know, like a bunch of different little mini podcasts.
Oh, cool.
But essentially, they just cover topics like shit people might ask on like Yahoo questions, just like shit you should know, like how are light bulbs made, or like how come we don't have like some fucking the plague isn't a thing anymore, shit like that.
Okay, so that sounds really interesting. Just make it a fuller. Both of those are about like. Just you're more educated. You know more about the world around you.
You always feel smarter at the end of all three of those podcasts. 100%.
And then the last two, number 4 and number 5, are both news-centric podcasts.
Oh,
so,
is it up first?
Yeah, that's number 4.
I listen to that every fucking morning.
Me too. It's actually, we're going to list some of the podcasts we personally love here in a bit. And it's actually one of the very few ones because I have to have it. I listen to it every morning.
Same.
It's very short. It's only like 12 minutes long. They post it at like 5 in the morning every morning. And it's really all you need to know for current events that day, as far as the U.S. goes. But they do a lot of international
It's awesome.
And then number 5 is by the New York Times, and it's called The Daily. It's about twice the length of Up First, and it's essentially very similar, though.
Well, thanks for adding a new one to my ever-growing list.
I know, girl. You have to get up an hour early just to stay up on your podcast.
Just to stay up to date. I love it.
Top 5 last month. Big winners.
Damn, girl. Thanks for that.
Of course.
So I thought we could run through some of our top-rated podcasts, and as I do, I got out of hand. So I have 3 separate top 5 lists to break down genres for you.
I, on the other hand, have 2.
Okay.
2.
Oh, that's
just
perfect.
2 singular ones.
Oh, you only recommend? Okay, so I'll do one top 5 list. You'll say one podcast.
Okay.
I'll do another one.
It's very indicative of our personality.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start with my top 5 comedy podcasts in case you're like, oh, I want to listen to something funny. Okay, so my number 5, Two Dope Queens, which is a great podcast featuring 2 Biffers, Phoebe Robinson and Jessica Williams. 2 girls just fucking getting it, being hilarious, making jokes about Kevin Bacon and U2. I don't know what else you could want. Number 4, All Fantasy Everything. This is a comedy podcast where people draft anything and everything the way they do with a fantasy football draft. For example, we're going to draft like condiments, or we're going to draft fast food restaurants, shit like that. It's hilarious. I recommend it. Number 3, Probably Science. It's a science comedy podcast with 2 scientists turned comedians who have on other comedians who know shit about science. It's amazing. Number 2, How Did This Get Made? Starring Paul Scheer, Jason Mantzoukas, June Diane Raphael, where they bring on their celebrity friends and they watch shitty movies and ask the question, how did this get made? And my number 1 choice is Doug Loves Movies, starring Doug Benson, bringing on famous comedians to play games about movies.
But your real number 1 is Beauty and the Bitch.
Obviously. For sure. And Mick, your one podcast recommendation?
My good one podcast. So initially I had 3, but NPR Up First was one of them.
Obviously.
So since we're doing kind of funny stuff, there is a podcast called Women in Caskets. Now, the 2 women who run this, their names are Jen and Dawn. Jen actually does the voice of Harley Quinn in the DC universe.
What?
Yeah, so she's actually famous. Dawn is she works in PR, so she's very dry. But what they do, and intelligent, brilliant, they both are. What they do is they talk about horror movies and the horror community from a feminist point of view. They're based right here in Austin. I met them at Armadillo Con. They're super intelligent. And they cover amazing horror movies, both classics and like horrible horror movies.
That's baller as fuck.
Yeah, they're amazing. Women in Caskets.
Love it. Okay, so we're going to move on to my top 5 crime and mystery podcasts.
Ooh.
I'm not going to tell you too much about this because with every good mystery, the less you know, the better. Mm-hmm. Number 5, Mystery Show. There's only 1 season, and I will tell you it's also funny. Number 4, Generation Y. That's WHY. Number 3, Serial / S-Town, which are 2 different podcasts, but from the same producer, Sarah Koenig, so I recommend them in tandem. Number 2, Missing Maura Murray, which is an interesting case that follows just one person who's missing, Maura Murray. And my number 1 is My Favorite Murder, which I've talked about before. It's 2 ladies just dishing about murder and making fucking jokes.
Now, are they feminist ladies?
Yeah, I mean, they're not
then
like
mine wins.
overzealous.
Women in Caskets wins. Women in Caskets wins.
Okay.
In a knife fight, my ladies are super feminist. So.
Oh, girl. In a knife fight, they're going to end up on My Favorite Murder.
It's kind of interesting because our 2 number 1s, even though I only did 1 option, are like very similar.
Ladies.
Yeah,
we like them girls.
Yeah. Except mine do fictional stuff and yours do real stuff. Awesome. Right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, so my second I'm recommending is super important for anyone who might be interested in starting a podcast. I go back to this podcast, and there's also a blog and like a website at least twice a week. It's called Pro Blogger Podcast. It's by a man named Darren Rouse, Rowse. Just look up Pro Blogger. And he covers stuff like, so recently he's done 5 obstacles bloggers face and how to overcome them. A couple weeks ago, he did personal brands versus business brands, which I was fascinated by because I struggle with that. But it's really great. He's super knowledgeable. He's been doing it for years. And he's got a really polished podcast as well. Very profesh.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Pro blogger.
Okay. My final category is my top 5 other kinds of podcasts that are not strictly comedy or crime and mystery. Number 5, The Nerdist with Chris Hardwick. Number 4, Anna Faris's Unqualified. Number 3, Invisibilia. Number 2, Pop Culture Happy Hour. And my number 1 is a tie for Radiolab in This American Life.
Oh, look at you.
So that's a cop-out because everyone fucking loves that, obviously. But I cannot tell you enough. If you've never heard Radiolab, go really far back in the archives and just pick a thing and start because brilliant.
Absolutely amazing. And look at you. You're so normal in your favorites. How interesting.
Thank you.
They all have broad appeal.
I can't tell if you're talking about my shoulders.
I wasn't sure how to talk. Like broad is like a rude
lady.
way to talk about lady, or broad is in fat, or broad is in your shoulders, or
what's that about fat now?
I was just saying it was mean. Even I didn't know what I meant.
For our final segment today, we thought we would just broach the topic of making a podcast because it's kind of easy. Ish.
It's easy-ish. It's not the most difficult thing I've ever done. One time I shaved my asshole, and that was the most difficult thing.
Why didn't you just like nair it? Oh, is that painful?
I did nair for well, okay, that's a different topic, but we can get to that. I tried nair too. We can talk about that sometime.
Okay, that's for the nair podcast.
Upcoming. What? But no, starting a podcast was a lot easier than I thought it was. I think partially because we're a team. Granted, you know. Yeah. But I think a singular person can do it, and they do it all the time, you know.
I will say we're past that phase where it took a lot of research and effort to get started, which was probably the hardest part. Like, how do you get everything together and like even understand how to put it together? And then once you get there, it really is just kind of like clockwork, right?
It's a small investment too. That's one of the things I love about it. You think you're gonna spend so much money, and there is money involved, especially if you don't have a mic and stuff like that, but not a ton of money. Girl, we got our whole setup. I mean, we got these really nice mics from our good friends secondhand, but we paid like $70 for these. And then our original little snowball mics, which is what we use. There's Snowball. You can just search Snowball Ice if you want. Those were about the same. So,
and and I made a computer investment that I didn't have to do, but chose to do.
Well, that's just your life too, though.
Yeah,
now you're a Mac person.
Really fabulous. So there's a lot of things you can do to improve things. Like there's a lot of equipment we don't use that you could use and purchase.
Oh, we'd love to, but you don't have to. I mean, listen to how
you can
good
start
we
basic.
sound.
Right. So we're just on USB microphones, which you can plug directly into your laptop. So that's a small investment. So I kind of just wrote out kind of a framework for anybody who's like has no concept of where to start, how to start, or what that process looks like. I thought we could just briefly run through this. And then if somebody wanted to listen to that and it inspires them, then that's fucking great for International Podcast Day.
Yeah. This is for you if you feel like you have something to say, or if you have a professional or a personal brand, or if you have some kind of business venture you want to start, or if you're just passionate. Anyone can podcast. Where should they start, Morgie?
Dude, girl, that was literally my number one thing. Like, find your voice. What do you have to talk about? Do you have something to say? Yeah, so exactly what you said. You just got to find something to say, find your voice and your mission. Step one.
And you have it. Knitting, that's great. Cooking, fabulous. Cleaning, I would probably listen to a cleaning podcast. Actually, that's a great idea.
Girl.
Copyright, Mick Parker.
Cleaning with cunts.
What?
It's going on the Expletive Network.
Yes.
Okay. So step 2 is a seemingly easy one, but proved more difficult for us. Choosing a name, premise, and format. Right? So you got to make sure your name is still available. There's not some other podcast out there. And you also need that like brand name recognition. And it took us a little longer to settle on Beauty and the Bitch than you would think. It sounds just like a dumb thing one of us said. But
it was me.
It was you. But we
look at her trying not to give me credit for her
girl,
name.
I'm trying to not give you credit.
She's a light in the outline. That's what it's like to be a queer man in today's world.
Well, yeah.
I'm sorry, Morgie.
We did go through like a couple, like it's just hard to pick a name. So step 2, pick a name. Number 3, set realistic goals for yourself. Don't set yourself up thinking you're about to make $1 million doing a podcast. It's going to take a lot of time and effort, and you need to set realistic mile markers and like expectations for you so you can feel good about the work that you're putting in.
On the other hand, once you do make it, you can buy a wig just like Morgan's.
I do have a purple wig on the table in there that I'm not currently wearing, but wish I was.
I was talking about the wig you're wearing right now.
Girl,
that blonde wig.
All natural.
Okay. From India, maybe.
Okay, and then the next thing you're going to do is figure out recording. So what do you need for recording? You need microphones, possibly headphones, possibly a mixer, depending on your system. You need a computer. You need some kind of storage. You need just that kind of general equipment. So figure out what you're going to do. Like I said, we're doing USB mics plugged straight into a laptop, and that is what I would recommend to start with. Storage,
we fucking use email and iCloud. I mean, storage is not necessarily something you have to freak out about. Though I know a lot of podcasters do get those external hard drives, which I've thought a lot about. But you don't have to have that stuff immediately. Yeah. You don't have the full outfit immediately.
So we'll get there. We also store all of our episodes in the cloud just with Google Drive so that like there's less chance. I mean, there is a small chance of losing data, and we have lost some before. But I mean, if you just store it in the cloud immediately, less chance. Okay, and then the next thing, once you have your equipment, is what software are you going to use to record on?
Super important.
We use Audacity, which is completely free, and I would totally recommend. There's a lot of choices out there, things you can pay for, different grades of things. Audacity is really great. The drawback with it is that it only is set up to record one microphone, but there are a lot of workarounds for that, right? So if you have a Mac, you can pair microphones to pretend like they're one, which is what we're doing right now. And if
it's happening.
It's happening. And if you have a PC, you can download this software, also free. Actually, it's like donation based, which means free. It's called Voicemeeter. And if you have a PC, you can download Voicemeeter, and it serves the same purpose to pair 2 microphones or more and pretend like it's one thing. So that's what we would recommend. And then the next thing is editing. What kind of edits would you do? And so when we were researching to figure this out, I listened to a bunch of different podcasts to learn about what kind of normal edits people do. And I watched a lot of YouTube videos. And basically, we have it down to basically like 6 or 7 like filters or edits that we put on our podcast. And then basically we just edit for content. So if we have to like take a break, we cut out a chunk, or if we mess something up, we just cut that out. So it's really basic. It's very time consuming, but it's basic.
I think like so many things, it's about thinking to yourself, like, what resources do I have? Free resources. I've got Google, girl. I've got YouTube. I've got other podcasters. If you do simple searches like easy podcasting, first time podcasting, beginner podcasting.
It's all there for you, baby.
There's so much.
Maybe we should write a blog post about it. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should write that down as a goal.
Yeah.
I like that.
Help people. They need it.
So the next thing you'll do is music. If you want to use music or clips or anything in your podcast, you have to make sure it's what they call pod safe, because you do not want a cease and desist letter.
That podfather will come for you,
Girl,
Quinn.
he's listening. Omniscient podfather. We love you, Adam. Come on the podcast. He's American.
Don't matter.
But basically, you can Google PodSafe Music. There's a lot of different avenues for that. You can make things yourself on GarageBand. So just figure that out and don't get fucked.
Unless you're into that weekend.
So the next thing is, where are you going to host your podcast, right? You've recorded it, you've curated it, you've got it together. How are you going to get it out there? So many different things you can use. We personally use Libsyn.
With a B.
Libsyn,
I always think it's with a P, but it's not.
Libsyn. And so they have some really inexpensive things you can do for basic packages. It's only like $5 a month. Our package is like $15 a month.
But we just upgraded, right?
Yeah.
We just and it was because our podcasts are so fucking long.
We
took up. If you're doing shorter podcasts, or maybe doing like one a month,
$5, baby.
You're good to go.
Yeah.
That's like one latte from Starbucks.
So we recommend that, and also for other podcasts they sponsor, you can get a code to get like 3 months for free, which we also did at the beginning. So search for some free codes if you're going to use Libsyn or any other host that you're going to do. And then you also need to figure out where else you can host your RSS feed, right? So you're going to need a website.
Ooh, it's easy. I know it seems scary, but it's not.
We use WordPress. It's free. You can pay for some other stuff. There's lots of free options. Find you a website that lets you use an RSS feed for free. We recommend WordPress.
If you've got the money, go ahead and get a domain name. You can figure out how to do that by Googling, how do I buy a domain name? It'll come right up for you. But girl, we don't have no domain name yet.
We also recommend that you do some social media, right? Make a Facebook page, get an Instagram, just get everything branded. So even if you're not ready to make that commitment, it's already there. It's set up for you. And then when you're ready, you do it.
Girl, every single one. You tweet it, you beep it, you pin it,
you
dot it, you blurp it, you puke it, you do it on Goodreads.
Bop
all of it.
Spin it.
Oh my God. I was totally referencing that and had no idea. Yeah. You can do it all though. Multitask.
Oh, do all that. Get your marketing on fleek. And consistency, I think, is the next thing. So when you set those realistic goals, make sure you have a calendar and you're consistent with it, right? So right now we're operating on bi-weekly. That's every other week. And that's what's working for us right now. And
by awareness, by visibility.
Yes. Yes, that. And also, we're crushing it at bi-weekly. So that's a great place for us to start. We'd love to be weekly, but we're just not ready for that yet.
Girl, we're crushing it so hard. We take those episodes and we put them in this little wooden thing and we push on the wooden thing and crush it down. And then we take the episodes to the recycling center and they pay us 5 cents a pound.
Girl, that's free money. Julie asked me the other day when I was in Atlanta, she was like, does your dad still crush cans for money? And I was like, girl, that's free money.
Girl, why wouldn't you? You paid for that damn can.
He bought that beer. He drank that beer.
And now he's going to make money off that beer.
And I'm going to buy some more beer.
Why you mad, Julie?
Daddy, I love you. Daddy. Sorry, that's a joke from 30 Rock and not a creepy thing. Girl, I just read they're taking 30 Rock off of Netflix and the world is ending.
I'm glad I finished it already, just selfishly, but
girl,
I'm sorry for
I need to
rewatch
it for a 10th time.
I'm shocked, actually.
Okay, and the last piece is just kind of a bunch of things that you should do or places you can go, right? So you need to network, you need to keep growing, keep learning, keep defining what your podcast is about, what your voice means, make some merchandise, get some other shit together, maybe turn it into a job, and then maybe start another fucking podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Girl.
And don't forget, if you're going to use Nair, don't get it in your asshole. Around is fine, but just make sure you're not going into your actual cavity.
Just on like the areola.
Yeah, exactly. Not the tip of the nip.
Wow, I just feel like we just gave so much good information, especially that last thing that we said.
Girl, I'm trying to help people. That's my mission in life, is to help these poor, stupid assholes.
And that is why we're here, babies.
Yes, absolutely.
So we hope that you can find your voice if you're wanting to start a podcast. And you know what? I hope that this information helped you. I truly do. Mm-hmm.
And you know what? We are not experts, but I think that should be inspiring for you because we're damn fools and we do it. It's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
Some work.
It's easy-ish.
Yeah. If you've got specific questions, you should totally email us. Don't you think they should, Maureen?
Yes, and you can email us at beautyandthebee@gmail.com. Hit us up on our Facebook or Instagram at B&Bcast or Twitter. Psych, I don't really do that, but I'm trying. But yeah, follow up with us. We would love to help you and give you guidance and information because we didn't have anyone to help us and it took us a minute. But we're proud of where we're at, and we want you to get there too.
We've got all the links for you in our show notes, so click on those if you're interested. And then we've got all the contact stuff there too, so if you want to go to the blog or the Facebook, just scroll down, baby. You got it.
Happy International Podcast Day! It's your day, but not your birthday. It's podcast day.
It belongs to everyone.
Girl, I really think that was working.
Is it fading out right now?
Holla. Bye, babies. You're done. You're done.
Do you have a home? Beauty in the Bed.
You're done.
You look. Beauty in the Bed.
Beauty in the Bed.
Beauty in the Bed.